Alright, 3 more like this. So this one's a little different, and you'll see where it's different in a second. Starts to test your number sense. So I know that's at -1 is my y-intercept. I know my a value is +1, so I know it's going up, but again, does it look like that? Or is it much wider? Is that the left side or is that the right side? You know, all sorts of things I don't know. So finding my vertex is going to be very important. So let's find it. Y equals x squared plus 5x minus 1. Add 1 to both sides to complete the square. So c is now 0. I've taken care of that. My a value is already 1, so that's done. So I'm ready to complete the square. Plus blank plus blank. To complete the square, I take half of 5 and I square it, which is 25/4. So I'm going to add 25/4 to both sides. Now you notice I'm going to stay in fraction form, and one of the reasons is when you're taking the square roots of both sides to find the intercepts, this is a much simpler way of doing it than coming up with decimals and not really knowing what they mean or how to combine them and having to round and come up with inexact answers. So again, I know this is x plus half of b quantity squared, always, equals 1 I can convert to fourths. This is just 4/4. So I end up with y plus 29/4. To get y alone, I subtract 29/4 from both sides, and I get x plus 5 halves squared minus 29/4. And so my vertex form, that is my vertex form. Let's shrink it down a little bit. Get all this other stuff a little bit out of the way. Force back. Alright, so my vertex is at -5 halves, 2.5, minus 29/4. Does that make sense? Let's see. 29/4 is the same as 7.25. So -7.25, 7.25, and then -2.5. Roughly right there is my vertex. Okay, that might be true. Let's see if I believe that. So I'd go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, 2, 3, over 1, up. Yeah, it should be in line there, so that makes sense. Using my jump pattern. Over 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 there. There. So it does look like it's in line with the possible red dots I have. The line of symmetry I know is x equals -5 halves. The y-intercept I already got, 0, -1. Now my x-intercepts. Again, I could use quadratic. My jump pattern doesn't really help me get there. Or I could use vertex form, which I will do. I'll add 29/4 to both sides to start. Oh, and again, y is 0 at the x-intercept, right? So that's why that step is a little easier. Is I'm just actually reversing on something I already had over here. I could use start right over here, set y equal to 0. So x plus 5 halves squared. And now take the square root of both sides. And now you remember your square root rules, hopefully. Square root of 29 over square root of 4 is the same thing. I get, and it's plus and minus, of course, equals x plus 5 halves. Now the square root of 4 I know is 2, so I end up with plus and minus square root of 29 over 2 equals x plus 5 halves. And so now I can subtract 5 halves from both sides and get minus 5 halves plus and minus the square root of 29 halves equals x. But since those are the same denominator, I can combine them to be minus 5 plus and minus the square root of 29 all over 2. So those are my two x-intercepts. So it's minus 5 plus 29 over 2 comma 0, and minus 5 minus square root of 29 over 2 comma 0. Practically, what does that mean? Well, square root of 29 is about 5.4. So practically this is minus 5 plus 5.4 over 2, which is about 0.2, which makes sense, between 0 and 1. And then the next one I would expect to be between negative 4 and negative 6, somewhere in there. So I'd have minus 5 minus 5.4 over 2. And that comes out to be negative 10.4 divided by 2, which is negative 5.2. So it is just bigger than negative, or sorry, just smaller than negative 5, just slightly left of it. So that all makes sense. So now I'm going to complete my graph, just as I had it drawn, making sure my points are well labeled. I would probably want you to also put the values of those points on there. But again, I've completed the square so I could find all these key values of this parabola. And we're going to start finding applications of parabola soon, in the next few openers after the few practices on this, which is going to help us understand why we need to know what we're solving now.